Hello everyone, it's Kari and I'm back to share my Christmas Alice postage stamp designs. I shared earlier some fall postage stamp designer stamps, but today we're going to bring some holiday feels into our stamp designs. So you can see I've already cut out a few different elements just to get me started and thinking about what I want to use for these postage stamps. And I've also colored up a number of Alice images from the Alice collection, which I love. I colored them up a little bit brighter this time than I normally do. So I'm going to start on the first background. I've already done one that I showed you at the beginning. These are the colors I used on that one, and I'm going to be creating 4 different postage stamps. So you're going to see the colors that I use and how I made that first one glittery. So stick around. I'm also using Distress Oxides in Spun Sugar, Festive Berries, and Aged Mahogany. And those are the ones I'm blending back and forth on this background. Now, I've already cut out those postage stamps. You can see them above on the left there, the frames. And this is the inside of what cuts out when you cut out that frame. So this is going to fit perfectly inside that postage frame. I love how the Distress Oxides blend so nicely together. So there's my blend. And then I'm going to take this Plaid stencil from Miss Ink Stamps and stencil over the top using the same colors. I like to do this every once in a while, especially with oxide inks, because I think it adds just a subtle little detail to the background and it feels really, really cool. So you can see I'll go over the same colors with those colors and blend them down a little bit further into the other colors as well. So let me just finish this and I'll show you how that turns out. It's a really subtle but awesome background. And it feels a little Christmassy, doesn't it? Now this is the embossing powder I used on that first one. You can see the first one is more glittery. And the second one I decided to leave the embossing powder off. So the second one is not going to be glittery. For my third and fourth designer stamps with a Christmas flair, I thought I'd bring in some of my favorite greens and grays. But I didn't really love it. So after I inked on these colors and I blended them through, I thought, you know what, this is really missing something. So instead, I finished that out with my colors that I originally had thought, and then I brought in a little bit of salvaged patina. And that's another great thing about oxides. If you don't love it, just keep blending and use some colors over the top to blend it through. So you can see I'm blending the salvaged patina over the iced spruce, a little bit over those pine needles, and over the shabby shutters, and turning it more into a mint green than a gray green. And I'm using a little bit of tape to help me hold this down so that I can blend it through without getting too much ink all over my fingers and fingerprints on my stamp. This is a low-tack tape and I have the sticky side on my fingers and I'm holding the other side against the panel. So I'm just going to keep blending those through until I get more of a minty green look, and I think that's good right about there. So I'm going to bring in this Leafy stencil that I adore and I'm going to add that one over the top. And when I started adding this over the top, I thought I'd use the same colors that I used underneath, but they weren't showing up quite enough for me. So instead, I decided to go in with the pine needles and pull the pine needles all the way through the entire panel. Let's just bring that all the way down. Yes. So I'm going to line my stencil back up. And I do love how this one turned out. Look at that. So pretty. So here's where I'm going to add that iridescent sparkle embossing powder to this one. And I also did one of these panels without the embossing powder as well. So we have some glittery embossing panels and some more matte colored panels. And these are going to be great backgrounds for us to start building our stamps on. Just take a look at that beautiful sparkle. It's really fun. All right, now that we have our backgrounds ready, we need to add a little more festive flair. So we've got the glitter on a couple of them and the other 2 are just plain. But I thought around the center, we could add some silver gilding flakes. You could do gold, you could do whatever color you want. but I just feel like the silver is really going to bring out my Christmassy colors. And so we're going to try using this Nouveau glue pen around the inside edge. See how there's an embossed edge on these postage stamp dies? It's so awesome. So we're going to use this Nouveau glue pen. It dries sticky. And that's what you want, a glue pen that dries sticky. So I will tape off just the center part so that we have just that center part showing where I want to add the Gilding Flakes. And I'm taping these off with tape I've used previously. Sorry, I I do like to use it up until I can't use it anymore. So I'm taping that off, and that way I can add glue perfectly to those lines. And I'll remove that tape and allow that to dry until it is dry, but it's still tacky. And that's what's going to hang on to our Gilding Flakes. Now I'm carefully going to pull out these Gilding Flakes. Make sure that my fan is turned off because these will fly everywhere. I'm also trying not to breathe too hard. No sneezing. I'm going to put these on where I had that glue. And I'm just kind of placing them with my finger. And at first I'm going to just kind of pat them down with my finger. And then I will start to press even harder and burnish those Gilding Flakes down into that tacky glue. And this is where it starts to come alive. Once I feel like it's all burnished down, I'm going to put the lid back on my Gilding Flakes so that I don't accidentally knock that over. And now I've got this bristle brush. It's kind of like a stiff bristles is what I want to say. Then I'm going to take that and just brush away the excess Gilding Flakes. And I'll do that around the outside and around the inside. And I'll put the rest of the flakes away and do it one more time until I get a really good result. You can see that I got a little extra Gilding Flakes up here at the top. That's okay. I'm going to show you what to do if that happens to you. It must have been sticky there a little bit from the tape, so they stuck there. But all you have to do is get out your sand eraser. This is the sand eraser. And just kind of sand that away, and that's all there is to it. And then it's perfect. So look at this. We've got a silver gilded inside frame of this postage stamp, and it's going to look amazing and add that extra shiny touch that I'm looking for on my festive stamps. And if you find any spots are still sticky, just add a little more of the Gilding Flakes and brush them off with that bristle brush. Now that bristle brush I have never used with ink. It is only for my Gilding Flakes. It is perfectly clean, so you don't want to get any ink on your frames. So look how pretty that's going to look with all of our backgrounds. Now let's go ahead and build our stamp collection. I went ahead and added that silver gilding to all of my frames. I even added a little to my fingernails. It's okay, it's part of the fun. And now I'm going to decide on which images go where. I have these extra little pieces here. That snowflake is from the Postage seal and stamp collection. Also, same with the faux wax seals. And I'm also going to bring in this mini postmark stamp set. I've already stamped one on the inside of the one on the left. I stamped the 50-cent stamp on there. And you can see I used that plaid stencil on the background of the faux wax seals. And for this one, I'm going to white heat emboss the stamp that says First Class. So I used some sticky ink on that. I'm using some white embossing powder, and we're just going to heat that up to melt it. And look at that, it says First Class. And then I can add the frames around it. So I've doubled up a few of the frames for the faux wax seal, and we can add that together. Now here's another fun part, is the mix and match and deciding what goes where. I love the Postage seal and shaker collection because you get all of these pieces. Not only do you get the postage frames, which we're using, but also these faux wax seals and those little cancellation mark dies. All of these I'm using to just kind of pull together and create some designer holiday stamps. Now from the postmark stamp set, I'm also going to use that small stamp that says Forever on the left hand side of this one. Now this is the one that does not have the glitter background, so it's easy to stamp on the background. If you did want to stamp on the glitter, I think you would probably need to use archival ink or a STAY-on ink to help that stay. But this is the one that is just the matte background. And I'm going to add some of those little wavy lines, which are the cancellation marks. And that's from the same die set. And then I'll trim off the excess. And I'm just going to save that for another stamp. So here's the beginning of that one. And I'm going to tape the back together. This is going to help me to create my postage stamps a little easier and also put it on the backing if I decide to make a mini card or a tag or even a Christmas tree decoration, which I think would be so cute. So I just used some score tape to tape that together, and now we can build the rest of this. For the little letters, which is from a mini die set, I added some faux wax seals that are the same kind of green aqua feeling, and I'm going to ink around the edges with some salvaged patina distress ink using a finger dauber. That will help it just to pop off from the background a little bit more. So I'm going to do that on all three of these mini letters. You can see that they come in different sizes, which I love. And there we go. That's going to be perfect just like that. So I'm going to add some foam adhesive to the back of Alice to make her really pop. And then we can add her right there on the background. And then I'll glue down the rest of the elements. So cute. I love that extra touch of plaid on the faux wax seal as well. And then I'm just going to glue down the rest of these letters. So there's a look at our first Christmas postage stamp with Alice. I love how it turned out. I'm going to go ahead and create the rest of these here. I'm going to do it rather quickly, but I'm using one of the letters without the faux wax seal on it. And I'm going to stamp something right on it to represent the amount of the stamp, if that makes sense. I think I'm going to stamp 25 cents and airmail on it because I thought that would be funny with the flamingo. But this one was a little too small, so I'm pulling in a larger envelope, and that way I can add both the 25 cents and that airmail, and I'm going to stamp that down. Look how cute that's going to look right there. So that's going to represent that part of the stamp. Very, very cute. I will ink around the edges, whoops, with a little bit of red there. And then add that right to the postage stamp. Now this one is the one with the glittery background. So I'm mostly going to use some die cuts. These little snowflakes I cut out of silver iridescent cardstock. It's kind of got a really fun glow to it. And I'm going to add those all around Alice and pop Alice up with some foam adhesive. Now because of that glitter on the background, it really does help to hold these down for a minute. I'm going to use my magnet here to make sure that those snowflakes stay on that background while I put together this next one. That little heart is also from the same die set, and I'm also going to use my plaid stencil for the background of this one just to kind of bring them all together for this collection. And then I'll add the outside frame and then that heart right in the center. The heart is also cut from that iridescent mirror cardstock. For this one, I decided to bring in a sentiment that had a Christmas feel to it. So I've got this stamp set from Holly Jolly Christmas, and I'm going to stamp just a portion of it on the right side, kind of going down the right side. But I don't want the whole thing, so I'm going to mask off the first part that says have a, and I'm only going to ink up the part that says Holly Jolly Christmas. So I taped off the part I don't want, ink it up, remove the tape, and then stamp it down. And I can do this a couple of times just to make sure I get a nice dark impression. So I'll use the tape one more time, tape it over, ink it up one more time, remove the tape, and stamp it one more time. And we're going to get a really great result that way. And look how cute that is, Holly Jolly Christmas on the edge. Now another thing that you can do is add some more gilding flakes to look like snow. And so I'm going to tape off that sentiment that we just added because I don't want the gilding flakes to stick to the top over that. And then I'm going to take this part of the stencil from the nighttime stencil. This kind of looks like snow, so little snow drops. And I'm going to use some sticky embossing powder with some Versamark ink. So to do this, I'm just going to push that Versamark ink right through the stencil. And I'm holding that stencil on with my magnet. I love this glass board to use those magnets. And now I'll just add some sticky embossing powder over the top. Make sure I get all those little dots. And then I'll heat set this. Now, sticky embossing powder is a little bit different in that you don't want to heat it too long. If you heat it too long, it's going to lose its stickiness. So you just heat it just until it melts. That's it. Really nice and easy and short. And now it's a little sticky and we can add gilding flakes. So I'm going to do this the same way. Just open this up nicely, add the gilding flakes all over the front and burnish that with my fingers, and then use my Nouveau brush to brush the excess away. It is a little difficult to see where the sticky embossing powder is, so I'm sort of guessing, sort of feeling around just to get that where it needs to be. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now I can brush the rest away, and we're going to have a little silver snow in the background of this designer stamp. So fun. You can see it there glistening in the light. Now I'll remove that tape, add the frame, and then the rest of the elements. And there's another stamp. So we've got 3 down, 1 to go. So this one I built mostly off screen. I've got a little plaid heart behind Alice, and I'm going to use that First Class faux wax seal. This is where I got that heart, and I added the plaid. Now I'm going to build it up with that just behind Alice. This is the glittery background, and I'm just going to add all of my elements together to build this one up. In addition to my iridescent snowflakes, I also added some shaker pieces, white snowflakes, to the background just to finish it off a little bit. And now I'll glue everything down and we'll have our final and 4th stamp. So here we go. Let me show you how they all turned out, but I wanted to show you the difference in size. This is the first set that I made with the fall theme, and I turned them into cards. These ones I'm going to leave as stamps, but you can see that it's a smaller size. Here's the first Alice stamp I ever made. It's a 2-inch stamp, so this is bigger than that. But then here's the frame that is an A2 size. So you can see it's kind of medium size in between my small stamps and a regular A2 card. I just love this size. I think it's perfect for ornaments, for tags, for decoration, and for my stamp collection. So here's all of the stamps once they're finished. I love that gilding on the inside of those stamps. I love the extra glitter, the iridescence. I think these turned out so fun. I hope you enjoyed them too. Now, you got to see the difference. With that gilding on the inside, it really does add something. See, these ones I didn't add that gilding to the inside. They're just the plain white frame. So these in real life really do sparkle, shine, and add that Christmas flair that I was looking for. So much fun. I hope you enjoyed this video today and making these stamps with me. You can bet that my stamp collection is growing. I am addicted to these, but I'm also going to turn a few into ornaments, and I might be able to share those with you as well. I also think they'd be cute as shaker ornaments or tags. So give it a try. Let me know if you do. We'd love to have you tag us on social media, and I'll be back real soon with more card inspiration. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.